What's going on, 5-9 Gaming Crew? Lethal One up here, and guys, welcome back to another 5-9 weekly wrap. Guys, in case you don't know what this is, I'll probably make this the last time I explain what the weekly wrap is, but basically, we look back at the week, we pick out some of the gaming news that dropped, and I just share it with you guys right here. And as always, I kind of make it a point to mention in the beginning, anything I missed that you guys want to have seen or heard about or whatever, you let me know down below. And on top of that, any corrections, again, let me know down below. Let's talk about it. But guys, I have 4 pieces of news to talk to you guys about with this week. This is a pretty interesting kind of week. So I'm actually going to switch up the first story. I don't know why this isn't the first one. Let's switch this up, starting with the very first story here. It's actually going to be Abandoned, the new PlayStation 5 exclusive that was announced. Kojima's next game. I have that in capital letters. What in the world is this new project that just got announced out of random from a company that doesn't have apparently the craziest track record in terms of big game releases? Apparently this is a company that has helped out a bunch of other games, but this is their first big project. But people are saying, is this Kojima's next game? Because we know he likes to have fun in terms of his game announcements. This comes from the PlayStation blog from Hassan Karaman, the game director from Blue Box Game Studios. Let's go ahead and give you the details of this game, again coming from PlayStation blog. Abandoned is a cinematic first-person horror survival shooter set in a highly detailed open-world environment and favors a realistic approach to survival. The story is centered around Jason Longfield, who wakes in a strange forest, abandoned and not remembering how he got there. Jason soon finds out that he was kidnapped and brought there for a dark purpose, fighting for his survival with his main goal to escape. Now, these are some more core details from the actual gameplay. So it was said that the devs want to deliver a uniquely personal gameplay experience, one that feels realistic. Every event has an influence on your character. If Jason is out of breath after sprinting, or maybe he's afraid, his firing accuracy will suffer. Now, unlike action shooter titles, firing weapons in Abandoned will be realistically slow. You will need to be tactical in order to survive. Also, it was put that there's a focus on crafting a cinematic style first-person story with this. There is no fast-paced shooter in which you just run, aim, and shoot. Abandoned requires you to hide and plan every shot before pulling that trigger. We want you, again from the devs, we want you to be nervous come each and every enemy encounter. To be aware that a wrong move can be the deciding factor between surviving a combat scenario or not. And just a little bit extra here, players will feel each and every interaction during gameplay, such as being struck by a bullet. Pulling the trigger on a loaded versus an unloaded gun will feel different. Now, this game seems absolutely incredible, and as you guys see the actual trailer for this and some of the screenshots, this literally screams a Hideo Kojima. It looks like the style that they use, it's so similar to what you might see. Again, I'm just gonna toss it out there. Looking at like PT, for example, right? This is what people want to know. Is this Kojima? What's going on with this? So I have to say that Psych JK apparently, this apparently is not going to be Hideo Kojima's next game. Blue Box Game Studio pretty much denied this, having to, pretty much put out a statement saying that they're confirming this is their actual first just big game that they're developing exclusively on the PlayStation 5. Which again, kind of sucked for them because a lot of people were like all hyped because, man, people, they took the credibility away from the studio and was like, man, this is going to be a Kojima game. This is exciting. But unfortunately, that's just not going to be the case. But I think what's cool is now this game is up there on people's radars. And for someone like myself, who was a big fan of the first person now, especially in the horror genre, I'm just like, ooh, this sounds really good. So now it's up there even higher because of the whole Kojima statement. So I think in a way it kind of took away right from the development studio, but it also kind of put it up there in people's expectations, and not even expectations, but more a game that they're anticipated for and they can't wait to play. And to add more to the whole Kojima thing, apparently now, I didn't want to make this as a news story by itself because this is just kind of rumor right now. There's nothing concrete just yet, but apparently Kojima is meeting with Microsoft to publish his next game. Phil Spencer he did a video recently, or he did something recently, I think it was a video, where he had the statue mascot behind him that you can obviously say that, oh man, I think that's Kojima's mascot. It's like a little statue. And apparently the reason is that Kojima is the focus of a Microsoft plan to leverage the Japanese talent. That's pretty crazy. I think a lot of people first look at this news and they're just like, what does this mean with Sony? I mean, I thought Sony and Kojima were like, you know, buddy buddies, right? Like, why would he be going to Xbox? Why would he go hanging out and possibly making a deal with Phil Spencer, right? So there's a number of reasons why you can go here or there, you know, all over the place for something like this. And I'm not going to go into it that deep, but what I will say is, I think it's cool that Microsoft could potentially be getting an exclusive game from Hideo Kojima. I mean, we did get Death Stranding. Now that's where it gets kind of iffy, right? Like, really, like, what if this next game is something really more reminiscent of, like, you know, the Metal Gear series or something? Like, what does that mean? We got Death Stranding, and they might potentially get something even crazier. Who knows? But I think it is cool just the fact that, like, Hideo Kojima doesn't need to be tied to one company, right? I mean, he can go and get his game published somewhere else. And what's cool is that a lot of people are saying that, like, okay, him going to Microsoft, it can't be because Death Stranding did bad, because Death Stranding, you know, was getting praise all over the place. And again, maybe to some people, they weren't happy with the style of the game that it was, you know, it was more or less, it was a good game. Then people were saying that, oh, is it possible that, like, you know, Sony limited him into how he wanted to do his game, because we know how that fallout happened with, like, Konami and whatnot. So why would he be going over there? And I don't think it's something in those lines. I'm more than positive Sony knows this is a big guy. Like, this is Kojima right now, right? So, like, I don't think they limited him to what he wanted to do with Death Stranding. I think that was his game. More importantly, they had some big celebrities in that game. So, like, I don't think they limited him in any way. I think him wanting to just go and do another game, or do his next game, and maybe just want to go to, you know, Microsoft for whatever reason, I think that's fine. I don't think it's more or less a bad relationship with Sony. But then again, I don't know everything, so I'm just giving you guys kind of my thoughts. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that story, because a lot of people are like, man, that's kind of crazy, right? Imagine the next big game that comes from him is an exclusive to Microsoft. That would be kind of crazy. And again, as someone who's like a big Sony guy, right? I'm just like, man, I don't have an Xbox, so I hope it comes to, like, Game Pass on PC or something, because I would love to play it. But guys, give me your thoughts about that down below. My Sony fans out there, does this worry you, or, you know, you're just like, oh, this is cool, this is good for Microsoft? Because in reality, this is cool for Microsoft. This is a good move for them. And let's be real, Microsoft in the last week or two right now, they've been absolutely killing it. Speaking of which, going into story number 2, xCloud receives backwards compatibility games now. This is pretty crazy. Now, this is from the Xbox Wire from Will Tuttle. I'm going to quote this from the actual article. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can now tap into a collection of favorites from the past in a whole new way right on your mobile devices, turning them into retro handheld game systems. I love the way that sounds, and kills me when I see stuff like this and I think about what we just had with PlayStation or with Sony. 16 original Xbox and Xbox 360 games are now available on Android phones and tablets, with more coming soon. So there's gonna be more. I'm gonna read them off to you. Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Double Dragon Neon, Fable 2, Fallout New Vegas, Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, Gears of War Judgment, Jetpack Refilled, Cameo, Perfect Dark Zero, The Elder Scrolls 3 and 4, Viva Pinata, and again, more to come, right? And it was also, just to add on to this, was just announced that 50 plus cloud games now from the xCloud service on Game Pass receive touch controls from Gears 5 to Sea of Thieves to Hellblade and Celeste. So they are going back and making sure some of these games also make sure they get touch controls. And to add on to the some of the games I just mentioned, Jetpack Refilled also got touch controls added to it, and so did Viva Pinata. And again, the other games I just added. So this is, I keep saying this, but, like, you know, on 5-9 here, we're all, what's it called, mobile gamers, right? We all play our Legends and our Dokkan and stuff like that. So I've always said this from, like, the very beginning when I first tried out cloud gaming a little bit from the NVIDIA GeForce service, and it's really cool. So, but I've always said, will this replace mobile gaming? Like, think about it. Is this going to be the way we start playing our console, you know, PC style games, but on the go now? Like, I think the question was always put out there, well, internet connection, you gotta have good internet. If you don't have good internet, like, what are you doing? And here's the thing, 5G is rolling out, you know, for cellular wireless, you know, services. So, like, that's out there, and that provides, some people are saying that they have fine streaming on, like, a 5G network. Again, I think that stuff will come over time, right? You know, where everybody gets, like, 5G and stuff like that. You know, there's obviously the question of how good is your Wi-Fi? Is your Wi-Fi good? Does it suck? Of course, that's always going to be a thing. But again, I mentioned the cellular because a lot of people say they have better service or a better experience playing these streamed games from the cloud that way. But I wanted to toss it out there to you guys. What do you guys feel about that? if we get to if we just get to that day and age where, you know, streaming games to your phone and it's comfortable enough, will that make you stop playing so many mobile games? More importantly, how will the mobile game market compete with services like this? Because, okay, I know a lot of you guys here are big Dragon Ball fans, right? Dragon Ball Fighters, are we gonna be playing? If we can play that anywhere, it doesn't have to be just limited, right? You know, to being at home and whatnot. Is that something that you guys would care more for? Like, you know, would that make you stop playing like Dokkan or Legends if you could just play Fighters anywhere you go? To add on to that though, right? Are touch controls good enough for these games? And I think that's the biggest thing here, right? Hell no, touch controls are for some games. RPG games, I found touch controls are usually not an issue for. It's actually pretty fine, right? The more simple kind of games. Obviously, a game like Gears of War 5, how in the world, right? Even like Dragon Ball Fighters, how in the world are we gonna be using touch controls to imitate, like, you know, your R1 or your L1, R1, and then like your square? Like, how? It's so hard on a touchscreen phone. Here's the thing: mobile game controller market is booming. It's getting bigger. There's the Backbone One, which I just purchased, which I will honestly say from my experience with that, for anybody who's an iPhone and you're looking for a mobile game controller to start trying out some of these services and whatnot, get it. Oh my God, get it for iPhone users, because this is an iPhone only product, the Backbone One. Seriously, it's really, really good. The software is great and the hardware is so good. Really try it out. And Android users, I know a lot of people are giving lots of praise to the Razer Kishi. Those are two, right now, big mobile game controllers for your cell phones that people are using for, again, cloud gaming, and just even some games in your app stores and whatnot also can use cloud controller support too. So, right, they're just an alternative. Also, there's the whole thing if you're using just like your regular Xbox controller, your PlayStation controller, and you can still use your phone as the screen, and you can do it that way as well. But I think, you know, with the mobile game controller market, I guess you could say, quote unquote, rising, and people are looking more into that, I would love to hear from you guys. What are your guys' thoughts? Like, will mobile, like, here's another thing too, is a lot of these games, right, they're made for console and PC. They won't necessarily work that well, you know, compressed and condensed onto a mobile screen, whereas obviously a mobile game is made for your phone, right? It's made for touch control input, it's made for all that stuff. So I don't know, I just want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about that? Do you see cloud gaming ever just taking people away from really just caring about mobile games? I mean, why play a gacha game? You could just play Dragon Ball Fighters or maybe Kakarot. Like a game like Kakarot, if you think about it, there's no PvP, you know, there's no like online multiplayer to that right now, right? Like, that's just a fun game just to play, right? So I want to hear from you guys. Cloud gaming, give me your thoughts on that, all right? I'm gonna leave it there instead of me adding more to it. Jumping into story number 3. E3 2021, it's 1000% happening, and it will be an all-digital event. However, in the roster that I've seen so far of publishers attending, Sony's not going. And it's not like it's the first time, right? It's nothing new. But when you look at this list here, I'm going to read it here. So far, publishers to attend that I was able to see from multiple outlets: Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Brothers, with an asterisk to say that more to join. No Sony. No Sony. And again, this is E3 2021 is an all digital event this year, and it's happening on June 12th to the 15th. I want to make sure I gave you guys the dates. But like, this is the big question. Why isn't Sony attending? More importantly, does Sony even need to attend? And again, they haven't attended before, right? But I mean, you're looking at Nintendo and Xbox, you know, some of the biggest guys here, right, coming in and saying, hey, we're gonna attend E3 this year, and we're gonna give whatever we want to give. Doesn't mean that they can't still do their own separate thing, but they still want to do something at E3. Sony's not doing it. And so for me personally, I'll give you guys my own personal take. It doesn't bother me because I look forward to their own digital events. But at the same time, it would have been nice to just see these guys come together and, you know, or at least Sony, you know, join the rest of them, right, to give something there. I mean, I don't think they need to give their biggest thing, their biggest reveals. They can still save that for their own events, because we all know the last digital Sony event, my God, I think it was like 15 million views from their Future Showcase event. And then when they had the game showcase event, I think it had like 5 million views. Like, they do good. Their own digital events do really good. But I guess it is just a question of, you know, if Nintendo and Xbox came together, right, and they're going to attend E3, how come Sony didn't just join in? So I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on that. But more to this, I want to add in, we also have Summer Game Fest from Jeff Keighley, the Futures Game Show, PC Gaming Show. These are just some. These are other events that are going to be happening around that same time frame too. So I guess I want to ask you guys too, do you think there's an issue where there's just too many events going on all at once, where it's like, you know, here's something happening, here's something happening, here's something happening here? And then you have some of these publishers like, where do I put my reveals at? You know, do I, you know what I mean? Like, it gets to the point where it's messy and it's chaotic. There's just so much going on. Does it actually make more sense where Sony's just like, we're gonna keep all our stuff to just our own day. We'll pick a day and we'll do it. You guys can, you know, fight back and forth between, and I think fight back and forth in the sense that, like, you know, Nintendo goes this day, we'll go, they say they go Monday, but then Tuesday Xbox has their thing, and it just shadows over the news that happened on like Monday from Nintendo. And I think that is also kind of an issue too, right? Because it's so quick for the headlines to just switch the next day to the next biggest popping thing. So I think, does it make more sense? I want to pose it to you guys. Does it make more sense to kind of have, like, for Sony to have their event and say, we'll have it when we have it. Maybe we'll do it the following week after, or once that entire week of craziness happens and whatnot. Give me your thoughts about that down below. I would love to hear what you guys think about that, because sometimes I think it does make sense when I see Sony like, no, we're not going to attend, because sometimes that does happen, right? The hype gets overshadowed by the next day, and that's how kind of E3 kind of did work, because I remember being hyped for one thing, completely forgetting what happened, because 2 days later, so much more news dropped, and I'm like, bro, what happened on Monday? Oh yeah, like that does happen. And so I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that. I think the last point I had for this was, does E3 still hit the same for you guys? For me personally, I still get hyped for it, I'm gonna be honest. But I know some people who are like, I don't even care for E3 anymore. Like, you can just end it at this point, I don't care. You know, I can get hyped from Nintendo Direct by itself, or an Xbox, you know, ID showcase, or a Sony State of Play, or Sony just doing their own event. Like, some people just don't even care for E3. They'd much rather see these companies do their own digital events, which again, that's what a lot of them did. And so a lot of people are just like, I don't really care for E3 anymore. So, and I know there's some stuff with E3 in the past too. So I'm just curious, does E3 still hit the same for you guys? Do you guys still get hyped for the time of the year where it's like, man, it's June or it's coming into the summer, I know E3 is popping off soon. So I know for me, I'd be lying if I say it didn't, if it didn't still hit, because I do get excited when I hear about when I think about E3. But I would love to hear from you guys as well. Now, guys, this will be our final story. Jumping into PlayStation Now, April games were added. Now, this comes from the PlayStation blog from Adam Mitchell. The games added: Marvel's Avengers, Borderlands 3, and The Long Dark. Now, in case you guys don't know anything about these games, which I'm sure you guys do, I'm just going to go ahead and give you little bits that I saw from the PlayStation blog talking about these games, or just little descriptions. Okay, starting with Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers is an epic third-person action-adventure game that combines an original cinematic story with single-player and cooperative gameplay. In a future with superheroes outlawed, a young Kamala Khan must reassemble the Avengers to stop AIM. Marvel's Avengers continues the epic journey with new heroes and new narrative delivered on an ongoing basis for the definitive Avengers gaming experience. Assemble into a team of up to 4 players online, master extraordinary abilities, customize a growing roster of heroes, and defend the Earth from escalating threats. Something to point here: Marvel's Avengers is available until Monday, July 5th of 2021. We'll come back to that, because I saw a lot of people online like, what does that mean? Like, why is that there? Why is it not staying? We'll come back to that. Jumping into Borderlands 3 now. The original shooter-looter returns, packing bazillions of guns in a mayhem-fueled adventure. Blast through new worlds and enemies as one of 4 new Vault Hunters, each with deep skill trees, abilities, and customization. Play solo or with friends to take on insane enemies, score loads of loot, and save your home from the most ruthless cult leaders in the galaxy. Play with anyone at any time, online or in split-screen co-op, regardless of your level or mission progress. Borderlands 3 is available until Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. Before we get there, one more game, right? The Long Dark. Now, The Long Dark is a thoughtful exploration survival experience that challenges solo players to think for themselves as they explore an expansive frozen wilderness in the aftermath of a geomagnetic disaster. There are no zombies, only you, the cold, and all the threats Mother Nature can muster. No time date, no limited date, no nothing. First things first, Avengers. Oh boy. Now, before I even add more to that, let me add a little bit to that right there. Avengers, also the PlayStation 4 version only. Now, according to IGN, Square Enix says you need to buy the game to get access to the PS5 upgrade. And according to Games Radar, the same is said for Borderlands 3, as they tested it and there was no option available for the PS5 version. Why? Now, I will say someone I saw on Twitter said that they had the Borderlands 3 PS5 upgrade edition from this. Can't confirm that. Regardless, I'll look at Marvel's Avengers. Why? Why in the world? I can only assume there was some deal that wasn't made right, or some deal that just wasn't made to allow the PlayStation Now service to be able to give the PlayStation 5 upgrade. Here's my thing. It's a free upgrade. You know, last I checked, it was a free upgrade. I can understand if it's a paid upgrade, right? And then that would make more sense why you're only going to give the PS4 version. But it's a free upgrade. So why would you not allow your PlayStation users to, well, one, get access to it, but two, wouldn't you want to hype up, you know, the fact that, yo, Marvel's Avengers is coming with the PS5 upgrade on PlayStation Now? That you know, for whatever you want to get out of that, right? To kind of help out PlayStation Now, because as we all know, what are they doing with PlayStation Now? What is the deal with this thing? So I can't help but look at that and be like, oh my God, Sony, what are we doing? That's, in my opinion, that's not a good move. And then people are saying, what's up with the dates? What's up with the why is Borderlands 3 is only there till September? And then what was the Marvel's Avengers was only gonna be there till July? Like, you know, here's my thing. At least from my knowledge, and if anybody who's more knowledgeable on the subject, you let me know down below and you correct me. But from my knowledge, that all comes from the deal that they made with those companies and those publishers, right? So the deal that they made with Square Enix was like, hey, you can have this game on your PlayStation Now service only until July 5th. Or maybe it's a case of maybe Sony is only paying to have it up until July 5th, right? That's my thing. I don't know exactly how that works, but I believe that's how, you know, some form of negotiation got to that point where it's only to that certain amount of time. And, you know, for people who are like, well, look at Game Pass. Well, Game Pass is very similar too, right? You see games rotating in and out of there all the time. Only certain games might stay on there all the time, but I think it's usually these bigger games, right? Not to say that Avengers is anything absolutely insane. I played the game, by the way, let me add, it's not as bad. It's not as bad. The campaign is good. I think after that is where it gets kind of bad. But that's its own topic. But yeah, even the games on Game Pass, they rotate in and out. So for example, I know a lot of people were like, is this Sony's best matchup they have, right? Because again, people want to take PS Now and they want to put it against Game Pass. Is this their way to kind of go not after, but just, you know, kind of compete with Xbox's Game Pass for Outriders, their day one launch? Is this what they got? And I wouldn't say this is the best way to fight that, or compete with that, or the case may be. I think, you know, I think Xbox Outriders, a brand new game that just came out on Game Pass day one launch, is a phenomenal deal. Not to mention the game is popping off all over the place. It's super popular, and I think that only helped it. So Marvel's Avengers has been out for a while. Borderlands has been out for a while. So I don't think it's anything to say that like, oh, that should be competing with the Outriders. I don't think so, in my opinion. And if anything, the Outriders situation is way better. But I do want to hear from you guys. Give me your thoughts down below about that whole situation. And again, I think what I wanted to add on to that was Outriders won't probably be on Game Pass for forever. It might only be there for like 4 to 6 months. At that point, then you have to buy the game, right? Keep that in mind when you get into these streaming services. That's how you see some things happen, and this is why you have people who are like, I'd rather just buy my games because I know at some point that can get pulled, and then oh, yada yada yada. So keep that in mind. That's another thing. But yeah, I mean, once again, right, what is PlayStation Now doing, man? I think a lot of people at this point are just like, what's the deal with it? Because there's a lot of people that want to see PlayStation Now compete with Game Pass, and me, myself included, I want to see something. And there's people who are like, do they even need to compete with Game Pass? Why? Sony got a lot of games coming up, right? We don't know too much about what Xbox has, and Game Pass is great. I mean, you know, there's so many ways to go, you know, back and forth with all this. But as always, I would love to know your guys' take on all the news that we just got through talking about. And that's pretty much what I have for you guys this week. Give us your thoughts down below. Share any stories that I missed. Correct me if I'm wrong on anything. And guys, if you haven't already, check out our accounts. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys are brand new to the 5-9 Gaming channel. Check out our Twitch, twitch.tv/59gaming1. And that's, yeah, again, that's pretty much it. I'm Lethal1Up, and I will catch you guys on the next weekly wrap episode and just next video that I do. I will see you guys next time. Peace.